Obrigado. What did he hashtag? What was he saying over there?
Pergunta Mosse. That means
Oh, okay, got it.
ask Mosse.
Perfect. That's wonderful. All right, cool. All right, so listen, take it, my friend. What do you have? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, somebody tweeted at us this week about the fact that no foreign manager has ever won the Men's World Cup. And I said, to be fair, the elite nations that realistically have the players to win a World Cup have rarely, if ever, gone the foreign manager route. But we could have an interesting test case because Brazil, there's a decent chance, is going to hire a foreign manager. Yeah, this is an interesting development. In the past, national sensibilities were such that Brazil would never consider hiring a foreign manager. We're Brazil. We don't have to go that route. But it's now been 20 years without a World Cup. There's a sense that Brazilian managers have fallen behind the top managers of the rest of the world. And there's been more and more foreign managers in the Brazilian league in recent years, which have kind of laid the groundwork for greater acceptance of the idea of foreign managers in general. And so the climate feels right now where there's a growing sentiment that Brazil needs to hire a foreign manager. Now, they're aiming high. You're hearing names like Zidane and Pep and Ancelotti, and I find all those to be highly unrealistic. The one guy I've heard that actually seems to be interested is Luis Enrique, who just left Spain. I don't know if that would be a great fit, but nevertheless, that seems like a guy that they might go after. Ronaldo is serving as an intermediary, played with Luis Enrique at Barcelona, knows him. What's probably going to end up happening is they're going to strike out with all these big-name foreign guys and then have to circle back to a Brazilian guy. The one name which is interesting is Palmeiras have a foreign coach, a Portuguese guy named Abel Ferreira. And so he represents kind of a middle ground because, yes, he's foreign, but he's been coaching in the Brazilian league to great success, very familiar with Brazilian domestic football. He seems more palatable even to the more nationalistic pundits in Brazil. So they could go for him.
Jurgen Klinsmann.
And, he's Portuguese. He speaks the language. It's less sort of dramatic than hiring some guy who doesn't speak a word of Portuguese. So
why do you think the sentiment has changed in that people, and maybe they haven't, but the way I'm getting it from you is that the Brazilians are more open to this,
absolutely,
as opposed to in the past?
Yeah, there's a growing sense that the Brazilian pool of candidates is especially weak right now, that Brazilian coaches in general are just sort of behind in the times in terms of their ideas of style of play. And so if Brazil insists on Brazilian managers, it's going to actually cause them to really fall behind. And so desperate times call for desperate measures. 20 years without a World Cup, which for us is a major drought. And so, yeah, I think the groundwork is there. Let me just say this. If they were to hire a Brazilian manager still, there's a guy at Fluminense, which is my favorite club, Fernando Diniz, who would be a very controversial selection because he's never won anything, but he is a romantic. His teams play a very attractive style. And I'd be curious to pair his ideas with the quality of player you have in the national team, which is much higher than what you have on any Brazilian club. So that could be an interesting marriage to see what that guy could do if you gave him players the caliber that Brazil has.
Scaloni never won anything.
Yeah, Brazil.
Southgate never won anything.
No, that's a great point. Brazilian pundits are very hung up on this thing of, what has he won? And other countries, you see, if they like a guy, if he seems like he has interesting ideas and seems like he has the personality for the job, they're willing to take that chance. Brazil, not so much. So we'll see.
You mentioned Luis Enrique, and when people ask me, who would you be okay with? Who would you like to see? I got a lot of time for Luis Enrique. I think, especially because language does matter, okay? And the ability to speak the language is important. But if you took that out of the equation, and I don't know how well or if at all he speaks English, but let's just say it's not great. I like his character. I like his personality. I like his passion. And I think that would be something that would be really interesting going forward. So I want to put him out.
So you've evolved a bit on the language thing because in the last cycle when U.S. Soccer didn't pursue Tata Martino and the stated reason was he didn't speak the language, you were kind of okay with that, but...
Oh, no, I think you should speak the language. I think
ideally.
Yes, ideally. But if you're not and it's opened up to others, I mean, look, I got coached by Bora Milutinovic. I mean, he spoke 5 languages and he didn't speak any of them well. So it can certainly happen. It can certainly be, and And keep in mind too that there's coaches that speak perfect English that suck. So it can work both ways. But when do you think this is ultimately going to happen? Because we talk a lot about the open vacancy right now from a U.S. men's perspective. How long do you think they're going to wait?
Doesn't seem to be a big rush. There's no major tournament this year for Brazil. Qualifying starts, but I've even heard that they'd be fine beginning qualifying with an interim guy. And if taking their time would lead to getting a better coach, then they're fine with that.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops every week. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.